Mr. Transformers 96 here with another end of the year video. This time I'm going to be doing a ranking on the Transformers Studio Series line. So I did this last year as it was the start of the Studio Series, and I took all the figures that I purchased from that line and ranked them from my least favorite to my favorite. And that's exactly what I'm doing here this year for 2020. So I went and took a look, and it looks like, as far as the Deluxes, Voyagers, and Leaders, that as far as Deluxes go, I bought 6 of the 11 released this year, so just a little over half. But when it comes to the Voyagers as well as the Leaders, I bought them all. So overall, I did buy the majority of the figures released from the Studio Series line. And so, of course, there's some that I didn't buy, though, deluxe-wise, which will not be included in this list. I'm, of course, only going to be ranking the ones that I did purchase. But here's the ones that I did purchase. Overall, I'm a big fan of the Studio Series. Very exciting to see them going back to the old films and doing new figures on them. That's something I never thought would happen. So the line in general really excites me, and the figures are quite good. So let's get started here with my least favorite to my favorite. As far as my ranking, I do take my personal opinions into account. You know, if I really enjoyed a figure, that is definitely something that I take into account. However, I am also comparing them figure on figure, and I'm not just looking at figures alone either, because then, you know, the leaders would all kind of win. I am taking account for the fact of what scale they are, you know, the fact that they do, some cost more than others, you know, so I have certain expectations for each scale, so that's how sometimes, you know, a leader class figure could be under a deluxe or something like that, because I do take into account what scale they are too. But let's get started with my least favorite of the year. And in last place, I'm going to have to put Skipjack. Of course, the figure in front of you is not Skipjack. This is Rampage. This was the first release. The Rampage is yellow and Skipjack is yellow. That's the only... Excuse me. Rampage is red and Skipjack is yellow. So that's the only difference between them. They're the same figure otherwise. The reason that I didn't put him out, because I do have Skipjack, is that he's currently in the leg form and he's attached to Devastator. So I figured it'd be much easier just to show Rampage here. I think that the figure itself is a good figure. It's just the fact that they released a repaint so far after they released the first one. It's kind of annoying because instead of, you know, releasing them a little closer together, they really made it seem like you had to get Rampage if you wanted to complete Devastator, when instead they come out with a more accurate Skipjack for Devastator, and that's just disappointing for some people. For me, I personally, you know, have bought 2 of every Constructicon, so I bought Rampage because I wanted Rampage, and then I bought a second Rampage to have it as the leg for Devastator, and then to find out that I've got to buy a third one to actually get Skipjack, and then my second Rampage is just completely useless. So figure-wise, don't really have much of a problem with it. I think it's a unique design. However, due to the fact of how they released it, I do put it as my least favorite of the year. Alright, and taking the 14th spot, we have Topspin. They did release all 3 records this year, which was exciting to get the team again. So you'll see all 3 of them on this list. However, Topspin was my least favorite of the 3. I think that he feels a little cheap in some areas. The backpack doesn't tab in very well. The massive shoulder pieces are so obtrusive, and they just never look good no matter how you have them positioned. And then all of the light gray colored items on him and accessories are all a really soft rubber, which is just very annoying. And in that 13th spot, we have Cliffjumper from Bumblebee, the deluxe version. This is one that when it went on pre-order, the pre-order pictures looked great. It had a nice, shiny, kind of almost like a metallic dark red, which looked awesome. Looked like a fantastic figure. Getting it in person, it was not what it was advertised to be. It's got just kind of a dull red. It's a little darker in some other place, or in some places rather than others, but it doesn't have any kind of shine or metallic look like the preview pictures showed it to be. I find that the head is really annoying. The neck basically is really annoying. It doesn't allow the head to lay flat. His head always looks like it's extended up and then he's looking up a little bit, which is just annoying. So overall, one that looked great preview picture wise, but just getting it in person, not the best. And next up, we have the second version of Shatter from the Deluxe line. This is the one that transforms into the jet rather than the muscle car. This figure, you know, it does improve on some aspects of the first release for sure. I love the new head sculpt. It's much more accurate. And then the body sculpt I think is quite good as well. But the backpack, they don't do enough transformation-wise for the thing on her back. With some extra joints, you could get it to fold away and hide up and to look pretty nice, but instead it becomes very just obtrusive, the massive pieces that she has off of her back, and they're extended way far off of her back as well, which is really annoying. And then the nose of the cockpit just like really hangs down. It just looks a little odd. So the figure is okay, but the backpack is so obtrusive, and with just a little extra money to add some more joints, it could really be compacted a lot better. And taking that 11th spot, we have the Voyager Bumblebee movie Blitzwing. This is a figure that's pretty decent. It's not like a horrible figure or anything by any means. It's a good figure. I think that the overall design is really nice. It's very much it represents the character from the film quite well. My only issue with it, and why it scores a little lower on this list, is the paint. The paint looked a lot better when it was first shown. This was another one that the final release paint was not as good. It's just very sectioned off. You have like sections of cream and sections of dark gray, which don't look that great together. I think that the coloring just isn't... The colors that they went with are okay. They'll do, although I think that there's definitely better shades that they could have gone with. However, just the way that it's all portioned out is just very section. It looks a little prototypey in my opinion, but the actual sculpt of the figure is quite good, and just in general, quite a good figure. Alright, and here we have the second wrecker on the list. It's Roadbuster. Overall, quite a good figure. I think that it has an obtrusive backpack, but nothing like Shatter. It's more compact. It's up against the back, but it is still, quite a large. I wish that it could fold down maybe one more time. But nonetheless, other than that, really good figure. I think that the overall design is good. I like the paint, I like the sculpt, and then the alt mode's pretty awesome as well. So quite a good wrecker. Not my favorite wrecker of the three from this year, though. And in 9th place, we have the Voyager class Dark of the Moon Sentinel Prime. This was a figure that I didn't really need, in my opinion. I had the Voyager and the Leader Sentinel Prime previously, and I was very happy with those figures. The Voyager's not great, but the Leader I really like. And I thought that the Leader was a good scale for him as well. But to get this new Voyager class one, I'm really happy with. I think that it came out really nicely, and what's nice about it is that I didn't think that we really needed the update. So to get the update and be like, wow, you know what, we actually did need the update, that's quite impressive. Love the paint. They did have a bit of a glossy look to the red paint, which I think is really cool. It makes it pop, but it's not in your face. It doesn't pop out so much that it just looks crazy. I think that it actually fits really nicely. Really like the head sculpt, and I love the dark grays that they used throughout the rest of him. And it's a mixture of different grays, which I like a lot. Overall, really solid figure. Definitely something I didn't know I needed, but I'm very happy to find out that I did need. Next up, we have the Revenge of the Fallen Voyager class Mixmaster. Mixmaster is my favorite of the Constructicons, so getting a new version of him was very cool. It's one that he's just got such a strange design. I do like the look of the original one from 2009. However, it function-wise, it wasn't the best. It had issues basically standing, and it just, it had a lot of loose pieces on it overall. So to get one that's more compact, that's more sturdy, is really nice, and it's cool to see a new rendition of it. I think that overall it's quite a nice figure. I do see room for improvement, but overall I think that it's done quite nicely, especially for the fact that this had to be a triple changer. The other Mixmaster has the cab of the truck on its back, just like this one does. The only difference is this one has an excuse because it has to fit the entire Devastator face on him somewhere. So I think that they did him well for the fact that they had to do that. If they didn't have to have Devastator's face, I would definitely knock this guy down for the backpack, but I understand the need for it. It makes logical sense, and I can't complain, because without, really going intense detail and adding so much extra joints to hide and really break down the face, there's no good way of storing it otherwise, and that I think is something that I don't expect Hasbro to do. So overall, I give it a pass for that, and it's quite a nice new Voyager Mixmaster. And next up we have the leader class Overload, first leader class on the list here. This was kind of the last Constructicon needed to complete Devastator, which is exciting to get. And overall, a really good figure. I think a very solid scale for the leader class. He's a nice, bulky figure. I do like the design where you have the very small legs and the very chunky upper half with 4 arms. I think that they did him quite nice. Now, only going off of concept art, they didn't have a ton that they needed to stick to and be true, because this character never actually is shown in robot mode in the film. So, you know, it makes it a little easier for them to make the figure. Nonetheless, I think that they still did a really good job on the figure, though, and quite a nice figure of the year. But taking the 6th spot, I have Scavenger here, or Demolisher. You know, comparing him with Overload, the 2 leader class Constructicons of the year, they're very similar. It was really hard to kind of choose which one is better. I decided to give it to Scavenger, though, just because he is shown in the film, so they have to be more accurate, as well as we have an old version, so to get a new version and to have it updated so much better than the last one is really impressive, too. Because, again, kind of like Sentinel, I thought the last one was quite good. So to get this one and realize just how much better this one is really impressive. And I think that they did quite a nice job, really made the head a lot larger. Didn't realize that the last one, the head was just too small, but it really was when you take a look at this. Love that they made the arms look more like arms and not just kind of scoops. And then I love the way that they did the wheels, you know, having such massive wheels and treads for both modes and have them completely different. It's pretty impressive that they're able to actually have it transform and to look good in both of those modes. So overall, a really great leader class. Alright, the final Wrecker of the year, being Leadfoot, is my favorite of the 3 Wreckers this year. I think that they did him quite nice. This was the one that needed to be done the most, because although there was a deluxe Leadfoot released with Dark of the Moon, it was only released overseas through Takara. The one that Hasbro was planning on releasing was canceled. So it, you know, made it very hard for people to get. I did buy the Takara one, and I always thought that was a good figure. This is an improvement, though. This gives him more of the kind of beer belly type of look. I wish that they had maybe some panels that moved out a little bit on that belly so it wasn't just so much the front of the car. It's supposed to look like the front of the car, but I wish that it was slightly moved apart and just kind of spread open a little bit, just to make it a little bit different than the front of the car. Nonetheless, though, I think this is a great sculpt. He's perfectly in scale with the others. I think that his bulk is perfect as well. The other one, the legs were too long. This one does the more stout legs, which I think look really nice. And then he comes with a steel jaw accessory, which is really cool as well. Something that you wouldn't expect for a deluxe figure, especially since it's not actually featured in the movie and it's only the concept art. So overall, definitely my favorite Wrecker of the year. Alright, and speaking my favorite member of a team of the year, we have my favorite Constructicon of the year being Scrapper, Voyager class from Revenge of the Fallen. So overall, really like this figure. I think that the design of it was very well put together. I think the look is great. This was a Constructicon that was actually featured in the movie that never got a figure from 2009, so to finally get his first rendition in any kind of major scale is wonderful, and I think that they really nailed it. The arms and the hands having such a unique look and kind of weapons are awesome, and the head sculpt is really cool and very unique as well. Would have been cool if he came with like an interchangeable hand to do like the ball and chain type thing. That would be neat, but unnecessary, not something I would expect Hasbro to do. But overall, great figure and definitely my favorite Constructicon of 2020. Alright, now we're down to the top 3, and at, the bronze place, we have something that's very silver. That's being the Transformers Dark of the Moon Deluxe Soundwave. So this is a great figure. This is one that is such a huge update from the original that came out. The original figure is in the same boat as Leadfoot, was canceled for Hasbro, but still was produced through Takara. I did still buy it, and it just doesn't hold a candle to this one. This one is great. It has the proportions completely right for Soundwave, which even the Human Alliance and the deluxe one that were originally released just did not get him right. They went with 2 very different designs, and neither of them was movie accurate. So to get one that is just perfect movie accurate wise is great, and I love the shiny silver paint that they used for the car portion of the figure, which then when it's broken up and you transform them, you have it mixed in with other shades of gray, so it makes the silver pieces really pop. great figure, and definitely my favorite deluxe figure of the year. It's pretty perfect. Alright, and my second favorite Studio Series figure of the year has to be the Leader Class Shockwave. Now this figure and the #1 figure were so interchangeable for quite a while, and even on the list that I'm looking at here, he is listed as my #1 Shockwave. But you know, I do consider the scale and what you get for the scale when I do this ranking video. And to be quite honest, although he's a Leader Class figure, he is not the size of a Leader Class figure. He is in between a Voyager and a Leader. He's bigger than a Voyager, but he's not quite as big as a Leader should be. So because of that fact, I have to put him at #2. I'm taking him down a notch. Nonetheless, awesome figure, one that I've really wanted a new update on, and they nailed it. The head sculpt's amazing. They got rid of kind of the flat look from Dark of the Moon, that figure, and they bulked him up. They made him accurate. The colors are awesome. I love the gray and black throughout him, and then the metallic purple that's like washed in places is just killer. It really pops, and just overall a fantastic rendition of Shockwave, and one that we desperately needed a new version of. Alright, my favorite Transformers Studio Series figure of the year has to be this Voyager Transformers 2007 Megatron. This is a great figure. Just looking at it, it doesn't look like it's from Hasbro. It looks like it's a third-party company because it's perfect. The overall design and proportions are great, and you know what we're all thinking of, the paint's awesome. He's got this great silver deco throughout him, which is just really nice. It's throughout the entire figure too. It isn't just sections. It's the entire figure. And then there's small sections of just regular gray, so that there's some, you know, a difference when you look at them. Not all the pieces are silver, but I think that it really pops. It's something that doesn't look like a Hasbro figure because of the level of paint. The level of paint makes it look like a third-party, more expensive figure, and that is always something that's very liked by me. So definitely 100% my favorite Studio Series figure of the year. Alright, so there's my ranking from my least favorite to my favorite Transformers Studio Series figure of the year. Overall, as I did the breakdown at the beginning, did buy the majority of the Studio Series figures released this year. And there were some quite good ones. There were some bad ones, though. Overall, if I were to compare this year to last, which was the first year of it, I think that the first year, it was so exciting, and I think that maybe the figures were slightly better. I think that there was a couple figures that I didn't like, or at least, so there was like one figure that I really was 100% my least favorite, but overall, the rest were all great, at least in my mind. Now this year, there's some figures that were but then some great ones up top, and then some pretty solid middle ones. This was the year that we completed Devastator, which was also really exciting, and very much looking forward to the future of the series. However, it looks like they're taking a detour from the Michael Bay films and doing the kind of original animated Transformers movie, which is exciting. For me personally, I don't collect that film's figures, so I don't have any plans to get any of the figures, even though some of them do look quite good. So because of that, I think that the Studio Series line for 2021 is going to damper a little bit for me. I really don't have anyone 100% on pre-order yet, I don't think. Oh no, I definitely do. I've got Dino on pre-order, and I plan to pre-order Starscream, but at the moment I think those are the only two, so I'm sure I'll get some Studio Series figures next year, but I guarantee it's going to be a lot less than this year and last year. Nonetheless, though, a really solid group. Let me know what you guys think of how I rank them. I'd love to hear your guys' rankings, or just your least favorite or most favorite, and thanks so much for watching.